This is really awesome. Oh, hey everyone. I'm just reading one of my Christmas present, Adam Strange. And of course, got myself an action figure. I kind of like this look of Adam Strange because he looks more like a space ranger compared to the other one. I thought, you know, James Gunn, if you really gonna keep on expanding the space version of the DC universe, at least you should give Adam Strange a cameo and make him way better than how they made him in that series Krypton. But anyway, enough about my Christmas present and Adam Strange. Welcome to another multi-voice reviewer episode, and today is another Doctor Who-Athon. Ooh-wee! And today we're going to start off with another series which not many people talk much of, and it's the Peter Davison era from 1982 to 1984. Peter Davison era ended 1 year before I was born. 1 year before I was born. I was born in 85. Now, one thing I gotta say, Peter Davison, who plays the Doctor, his performance is not bad. I mean, not bad at all. I mean, a lot of people do say that Peter Davison would go down in history as the youngest actor who played the Doctor before Matt Smith. And even though I did have a few complaints to some people saying that bow ties are cool, I still think they're not. Leather jackets are cool. But as usual, he still had the same companions from his last Doctor, Tom Baker. He still has Adric, the know-it-all kid that everybody hated. Yeah, Nessa, not Negan. Nessa, she's the girl I really like because I think she's really cute and pretty attractive. Tessa is that Tegan is the Australian girl. And as usual, it still continued on with the fight between them and also the Third Doctor. I mean, not the Third Doctor, the Third Master. Die, Doctor, die, die! Man, he's been lasting a lot longer than any other actors who played the Master. As long as he ain't Mr. Crispy, Master. Good tea. And here's the thing. In this one episode called Black Orchid, that's why Peter Davison, his outfit looks more like a cricket outfit because he has a thing for cricket. And of course, if you seen the episode of the Black Orchid, you start seeing him playing a little game of cricket where, they toss the ball, use the cricket bat and all that. At first I thought it was like their version of baseball, but it's something else. Now one thing I gotta say about Black Orchid, it was nothing alien based. It was just a sort of a murder mystery suspenseful thriller, and of course it involves that one girl who looks a lot like Nessa. Yeah, there was on Black Orchid. There was another girl who looks exactly like Nessa. So they were like doing like the old switcheroo. But it turns out there was a deformed brother who was obsessed over the girl. But it wasn't all that interesting. And then they did this episode where it involves the Cybermen in this episode called Earthshock. Now, this one has a big shock because this one is what most of the fans was kind of relieved about because they couldn't take the character anymore. They can't stand Adric. And, of course, that's when Adric decided to sacrifice himself in order to save the Doctor and the others. Now, even though Adric was one character that many people didn't seem to like, but his death was really emotional because he only sacrificed himself in order to save the others. And then there was this episode called Arc of Affinity, which surprisingly, Omega returns. But of course, it ain't going to be the same Omega from the 3 Doctors. Oh no. This one, he looks more like a bug. And of course, one thing he wanted the Doctor's regeneration. So Omega can look more like Peter Davison. But it didn't last long, so he died. And of course, it was in that episode where Colin Baker showed up before he becomes the Doctor. And then there was the Meldrin Undead, where the Brigadier returns. And he showed up to help out this time. And then it starts showing this new companion that showed up that pretty much replaced Adric, and he goes by the name of Torlin. Torler? I couldn't pronounce his name, so. But what he was trying to do, at first Torlin was trying to betray the Doctor and trying to get him killed. Until it turns out that he was being controlled by one certain evil enemy, and it's the same enemy from the last era, the Black Guardian, except they brought the White Guardian to battle against one another. So, but of course, here's the thing. The Black Guardian won't stay dead. As long as the White Guardian's around, the Black Guardians will always come back. And then there was this other character that showed up that he was more of a not really an interesting character of all. Oh yeah. And in the episode called Time, Tegan did left, but she did come back in the other episode. And of course, in the episode And now another character called the King's Demon. There was another character who also claimed to be the Doctor's companion, but I guess they couldn't do much for him because he wasn't that much of a useful companion, which he goes by the name of Chameleon. He's an android who can camouflage himself to look like other people. And then all of a sudden they did the 20th anniversary called The 5 Doctors. Now, of course, on this one, William Hartnell, he already passed away, but they found somebody to replace him, which was Richard Harmdell. He takes over as William Hartnell, replacing him. And of course, it even brought together all the other companions and other characters. Like, they brought in Tegan, Torlo, the Brigadier, Sarah Jane Smith, K9, the Master, and of course, it was the first time that Susan did come back and she got reunited with the first Doctor. And of course, they dealt with the Daleks and the Cybermen, and of course, it's been guarded by the Reston warrior robots. Now, those are pretty weird looking robots because, I mean, they kind of look like their whole entire body is made of chrome, but they shoot chrome spheres out of their hands. And what they're going to Rassilon's tower, where lies the grave of Rassilon. Now, of course, Tom Baker was supposed to make an appearance, but sadly, he didn't get involved. I mean, they just took a clip from one of the old episodes, make it look like that Tom Baker and the second Romana, they got stuck and never could release them. So Tom Baker didn't really get involved. But of course, throughout the whole entire story, they found Rassilon's tomb, and they say that whoever reaches Rassilon's tomb would grab something from Rassilon so they can get immortality. And this one bad guy who was responsible for bringing all the Doctors together in the first place was, of course, Borissa. Borissa was behind all this. All because he wants immortality. But surprisingly, he asks Rassilon for immortality, and Rassilon says, "Grab my ring, and your immortality has been fulfilled." So he took the ring, put it on his finger, and then, bam. He's been enchanted into a headstone on the side of his coffin. So, pretty much, he did give him immortality, but also imprisonment as a head statue. So all they're going to do is just stay there and just look around and do nothing. They cannot say anything or anything else. So pretty much, Rassilon's tomb is like a monkey's paw. If you grant wishes, nothing good comes out of those wishes. Great misfortune always happens for whoever makes a wish. That's why I don't like making wishes over something when they have great misfortunes. Now, of course, one problem, though. Oh, yeah, in this one episode who goes by the name of Trements. This is when one of my favorite companions, Nessa, decided to leave behind. Now, of course, Tegan felt a little broke up because she was like a sister to her. And of course, now when she meets this other one, Torlo, they kind of acted like sibling rivalries because they always argue and complain to one another. But when they made the episode Resurrection of the Daleks, that's when Tegan decided to leave for good. And she even apologized, but she decided to go off on her own. And then on the episode Planet of Fire, we meet a new companion, which she's the one that most people used to say she's the most buxom of all companions. Buxom. And I think I'm going to explain more of that at the end of this review. But we had Perry Brown, played by Nicola Brent. The lovely and very attractive Nicola Brent. I mean, I do have to admit, she's one lovely and very attractive woman. But, I don't know. I mean, I think I like Nessa better. But that's just me. And then in the episode called, And here's the thing. Now Chameleon starts working, but sadly, the Master starts controlling Chameleon, and even Perry starts talking to Chameleon until he decided to sacrifice himself in order to save the Doctor and Perry. And that's when Torlo left the show. Now, one thing I gotta say about the Peter Davison, the only problem I have about it is that they had way too many companions in the TARDIS. I mean, Adric, Nessa, Tegan, Thorlo, and also Perry. I mean, it's just like the Jodie Whittaker era, where she had like more than one companion. To me, to most Doctor Who series, it's better to have one or two companions. That's why my Doctor always have one companion throughout my adventures, and I'm not planning on having a second companion. You know, come to think of it, when I'm done with the when I'm done with the Doctor Who-Athon, I think I'm going to be doing like sort of a behind the scene interview talking about my series of Doctor Who and some of my friends who did the voice of their doctors in my own Doctor Who universe called the Gallifrey Multiverse. That's what I called it. And even giving a shout out to my dear friend who plays my companion, Hannah. But anyway, back to the thing. After this whole genre happened, this is where they finally ended. And this is the episode where they did talk about that even though Peter Davison was trying to do his greatest performance of him dying before he regenerates, but sadly, the only thing that most people were talking about is Nicola Brandt's cleavage. I mean, her cleavage was getting kind of close to Peter Davison's face, that not many people were paying attention to Peter Davison's death performance. They were more focused on Perry's cleavage. And that was in this episode called The Caves of Androzina. And this is the scene where Peter Davison's Doctor died. And that's when he starts visiting all his old companions, telling him not to die. He must not die. He must go on. He must live. And then that's when he sees his master going like, "No, Doctor, you must die! Die! Die!" And that's when Peter Davison regenerate into Colin Baker. And Colin Baker's last words in that episode was, "Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon." And this is where I end the Peter Davison era. Coming up is my Colin Baker era, which I call it the Baker era 2, because I don't want to be confused between Tom Baker and Colin Baker. And this time I'm going to be talking about Colin Baker's series, and even in his adventures with him and Perry. And believe it or not, there was also a Doctor Who-ish series where there was another company who goes by the name of BBV, pretty much made sort of a Doctor Who-ish ripoffs, which is not exactly part of the Doctor Who universe, but most of the actors and cast members now starts working for BBC. So, if anybody likes my Peter Davison series of... oh yeah, and one thing I remember about Peter Davison is he always wore a celery on his lapel, and even Perry asked him why does he have that celery, and he says, "Well, every time when I go outside, and if the gas gets in my celery turns purple. Then what do you do, Doctor?" "I eat the celery." But of course, I heard behind the scenes that Peter Davison didn't really like celery, but they just put it there as a joke. I think. I mean, that's what I've heard. But anyway, for those of you who likes my Peter Davison review of Doctor Who so far, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the Colin Baker era. So, this is Michael A. Grimm, aka the Multivoice, or Multivoice Doctor, telling you, see you soon.